Everyone. Thank you for introducing me. Thank you for being here. Apologizing for being that late. But thank you for being so numerous here and to give us your time and your attention. While I am waiting for the clicker, if there is any, it's on the way. So today I'm going to talk to you about Microsoft Azure, which is Microsoft's public cloud, and why it is an option for Europe more and more. Let me figure out the technology first. It does work. I could not talk about Microsoft Azure or about Microsoft without talking about our mission. Because in everything we do at Microsoft, we follow our mission, which is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. This is highly important also in how we design, how we operate, and how we offer our Microsoft Azure cloud. It is meant to democratize computing power and democratize IT for everyone around the world, because we do care about every individual and the institutions that individual build, no matter what institution this is. And in order to go one step further with the mission, how do we plan to achieve it? It's based on three pillars. And those three pillars are connected by our vision of mobile first, cloud first. Now, nowadays when we talk about, we had a lot of talks about the cloud, but when we talk mobile, maybe many of you think of the mobile device. And this is not about the mobile device, it's about the mobility of the user. Hardly we have jobs where user spend mostly their time behind a desk. They need to be mobile nowadays. And we as Microsoft, we see ourselves as ensuring that our customer reach this mobility. So when we say mobile first, cloud first, it's about the mobility of the services, the mobility of the data, and the mobility of the experience across devices, no matter what device. If it's a mobile, if it's a tablet, or if it's a PC, or even bigger devices. And no matter if the device is a Microsoft-powered device, it is an Apple iOS-powered device, or an Android-powered device. So it's about the experience across all that. When we do this, we look at the personal computing, the device itself. We look at the business processes, how we deal with the data, how we deal with the productivity of the user. And last but not least, our topic today, we look at the intelligent cloud and the platform we built to support that. So what is the intelligent cloud? It is a collection of services where we design them in a way to be globally available, to be trusted, and hybrid. And you heard many presentations here today, or at least a couple of them so far. And when we talk nowadays about cloud, there are many providers. But when we talk about providers of cloud, there are three of them. And one of them you heard today, which is Amazon Web Services. There is Microsoft Cloud, and there is Google Cloud. Those are the providers that really matter. There are many other providers who are following the, as my colleague said in a presentation earlier, a train called cloud, where those three main providers have onboarded. The others are running after this train, crying out loud, we are doing cloud, we are doing cloud. But this is what really matters in this game. Our unique differentiator in the cloud game is hybrid. I will talk more about the hybrid capabilities of the Microsoft Cloud, but this differentiates us significantly from other cloud providers nowadays. Our cloud, to talk a bit in terms of global, we do have 30 global data centers right now, a global reach. And since we are here at the EuroCloud forum, I wanted to focus on the data centers we have in Europe. Traditionally, those of you who were using Microsoft Azure or were getting informed about it, you have seen so far the Ireland data center in Dublin and the Netherlands data center in Amsterdam. There were two more recently launched, which is the UK data center and the data center in Germany. And the data center in Germany is special among the others. It is special, and I will talk a bit more on the following slide, because it reinforces our idea that we do care about our customers and their requirement in their local circumstances, such as in the European Union or in the German market itself. Lastly, it was just a couple of days ago on Monday that our CEO, Satya Nadella, announced that we will open in the next calendar year the 5th data center in Europe, which will be in France. So why is it the global cloud for Europe? It is, in Europe alone, we do have more regions than any other cloud provider. So you have the possibility to choose the best option that fits you, not only from the position of the data cloud, but also from the way that the cloud is operated, as I will talk about the German cloud later on. We have a huge investment in Europe. It's 3 billion alone in Europe that we invest in data centers. And in terms of capacity, we doubled them only in the last year. And we are committed to continue in the same manner. So when we talk about because I said it already twice, about our data centers and about trust, it is this data center in Germany recently opened that is different than all the others. Why is that? Because Microsoft realized there are different policies, different regulations across the European Union, some of them being very strict in Germany and probably in other parts of the European Union. So therefore we designed the cloud in Germany in such a way that it is operated by a data trustee, as we call it, or we would say a third party from Microsoft's perspective. However, this is the company Deutsche Telekom, one of the sponsors down there. So Deutsche Telekom in Germany operates the Microsoft Azure cloud. To go in details how this really works, it would need probably another session of 2-3 hours. However, the intent is to change the perception that Microsoft or Microsoft employees could access the data in the data centers at any time. It is anyway not the case, but in order to address this perception and this technical possibility to some extent, it was designed that we build up the data center, we handed it over to Deutsche Telekom, and they operate it. So it is a European Union company, a company registered in the European Union that operates the cloud. It's probably for the first time, and as all the other major clouds, as I mentioned before, are operated from outside Europe. We have the cloud that it's operated within the European Union. It is not only that we comply with the European Union regulations and try to stay in trend here with the cloud, it is also about the hybrid capabilities that we offer in the cloud. Nowadays, more and more data is generated. We are fully aware of it. Every mobile device, every IoT device generates data. And it is from our vision, it will not be possible in future to centralize all your computing only in the cloud. We will end up, we had several eras in the cloud computing. We had, if I should go in very early history of cloud computers, it was the mainstream, where everything was happening on the mainstream. But people could not rely on it. And then they deferred later on to the client-server architecture because you needed a client. We left a lot of operations on the server, but there was a client needed. And now, from the client-server architecture, we move into the cloud. But once again, not everything can be in the cloud. We still need, at the edge of the cloud, the capabilities to have on-premise infrastructure, to collect data, to imagine scenarios where you have a manufacturing company or a manufacturing plant with a lot of sensors, a lot of data that is generated there, where you have to respond quickly. In the IoT world, you sometimes have to respond within milliseconds and two-digit milliseconds. So these capabilities you can realize only on-premise. And connecting the on-premise world with the cloud is our unique differentiator, where we see that this is the trend nowadays, and it will persist over years. Of course, it will be a lot on the cloud, but you need the hybrid capabilities to have some computing power on-premise. It's similar to your, just to give another analogy in the consumer world, it's similar to your mobile phone. While all your apps are powered probably in the cloud, no matter what ecosystem you are, you still need a powerful device on your handheld to have a rich experience. This analogy moved into the enterprise infrastructure. It's what we offer with a hybrid cloud. So, and since I was talking about the application, it is indeed the cloud that will power the applications behind that. So why not have a look, what do we see as the future of applications? We strongly believe that artificial intelligence will take over more and more of our lives. And being it in consumer, being it in the enterprise scenarios. I will not do a talk on artificial intelligence here, but these are the key components of artificial intelligence, where it is an agent needed, the interface, the application in the back, of course the service to deliver the information, and lastly the infrastructure to support all that. So with the power of the cloud, it is possible to have artificial intelligence for everyone. I refer back to the mission that we designed the cloud for everyone. It is now possible, since machine learning was a topic only for the universities that had probably big computer data centers, that they could run all the operations on machine learning and do some predictions. Now everyone can do it. Yes, it might not be cheap, but since you can operate a hyperscale infrastructure for machine learning, you can operate it only the time you need it. You operate it for 20 minutes, you operate it for 2 hours, or you operate it for 2 days. And that's it. You pay only for the time you operate it. And therefore, it is possible to have such services all over the world. So what do we offer in order to build world-class services? It is, first of all, the information management that you need behind the Azure. The big data stores, where we have our platform as a service offerings. Of course, the machine learning and the advanced analytics. The cognitive services, where we have now, meanwhile, Microsoft's speech and cognitive recognition was classified as world-class. And then the bot framework, this is the agent that enables the cognitive services and enables natural language understanding. It's a pity I could not have a demo here to show you those devices and those applications on the future of the future in action. So since we talk about Microsoft Azure, it's about 4 clusters that I want to talk. How we enable application innovation to build the applications of the future, how we deal with data and the intelligence out of it, the openness and flexibility, and lastly, but not least important, the trust. When we talk about applications of the future, you first of all need an infrastructure, and here we talk in cloud terms of infrastructure as a service. You need the storage, you need the virtual machines for computing, and then the networking, what is the basic for the infrastructure to connect probably all the infrastructure. But more than that, based on our infrastructure, we build services and offer services as platforms. And those are microservices, which is more and more a trend. You heard it also in the other provider. We offer extended frameworks for web and mobile, serverless compute, all that as platform as a server. It is much more easier for developers, and again, democratizing it for developers not to care about the infrastructure, the operating system, beyond that, the hardware beyond that. They just care about the service. What is more, in order to enable you to start quickly with an application, we have packaged our services. And we have a package for the Internet of Things where you obtain all the components from Azure needed to run very fast an application of Internet of Things. And those what you see here, you can really deploy it with a few sensors within minutes. It's less than an hour that you can deploy an application of Internet of Things which can monitor something. Of course, it is a basic, but this is your first deployment from which you can start building your custom solution. You do not have to wait, and especially in IoT, to invest millions of euros to build the final solution and then start deploying it. Lastly, the Azure Marketplace. This is the way where we work with our partners together, and they put their solutions on our cloud from which they can be easily deployed, customized, even licensed. And one good example, it's the offering you just saw before this presentation, VM. You can find it in the Azure Marketplace, and you can, with one click, just deploy it into your Azure subscription. More, we do allow for applications to be easily monitored. I will not go in the very details here of the Azure portal, where you have all the insights about your infrastructure and applications you are running. The application insight as well, where you will run some web services and you need to see how this is utilized and so on. And the last piece is probably the most interesting, the operation management suite. This is a suite where you can manage across your infrastructure, across your platform, and it's not only for Microsoft Azure, it covers the full hybrid infrastructure, so you monitor your on-premise solution as well as your cloud, and not only that, you monitor also your solution that you have deployed in Amazon Web Services or that you have deployed in Google Cloud. So it is a solution completely open. You can monitor your infrastructure wherever you have it. And then this is mainly for developer, and just to see how it is here in the audience. How many developers do we have in the audience, if you raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have a few of them, so I will go briefly, because for the audience, non-developer audience, it might be a bit off topic. So it is our possibility to develop and to continuously integrate web services or mobile applications. Recently, we have acquired Xamarin, which is a technology that enables you to develop once for all mobile devices, being them Android, iOS, or Windows Mobile. More than that, Xamarin has its own data center where you can test your application on real devices, 2,000 devices running there, and you can deploy and test your applications. And lastly, another acquisition you may have heard of, Hockey app, where you can really deploy your beta compilations for mobile and see how they work in action. On the right-hand side, you would see the services in Azure that enable you to do rich experience and capabilities with mobile applications. In order to move to the second point, the data insight, which is more something probably for business decision makers, it is nowadays data sources are much richer than they used to be. As you can see, In the very small circle, it's the traditional data, which came typically in the last years out of the ERP systems or out of the CRM systems, pretty structured, pretty well defined. You could easily deal with this data. Nowadays, we have much more web data. We have customers, we have probably in other domains, we have fans or people that are on the web and they generate data there because we know who they are, we have cookies, we can identify them. And those data is a bit more difficult to capture. But lastly, probably the most difficult is the big data. Those data which is on social networks, which is posted via hashtags, which needs a sentiment analysis, data that is unstructured. All this data can be collected with our cloud infrastructure and lastly transformed into insights to give you a really perspective on how your company is perceived or how what your customers are discussing about your company on social networks. An example would be Real Madrid. Real Madrid is using this infrastructure for the huge fan base. It's actually that they ran a study and they found out that only 3% of the Real Madrid fans do live in Madrid. The 97%, probably many of them in Spain, but many others outside of Spain, they need to be reached via social networks and so on. So they use this insight, because we know nowadays football is more a business than a sport. And then when you have the data, it's first of all the insight which enables you to react on things that happen, but other than that, it would be useful to predict. I was talking about machine learning earlier. So with our machine learning technology, you can do demand forecasting, predictive maintenance. The typical example for predictive maintenance is ThyssenKrupp, a company that says sensors in all their elevators around the world. They gather all the data, and they can pretty precisely predict from Germany, from the headquarters, whether an elevator somewhere in South Australia needs maintenance. So they can deploy resources for maintenance just when they need it, and in a manner that the elevators have a higher uptime because they are maintained just before they get broken by using those technology. I will not go into the details of how you can model the data, but I would let you know that it's not only our own machine learning algorithms that you can use in the cloud, but you can use also R, which is very popular, or Python, and all that running on Linux. In fact, Linux virtual machines or Linux workloads make up about 35% of Azure. And yes, it's Linux that occupies 35% of resources in Azure. Speaking of the application of the futures, it's more and more about cognitive. We do have APIs that enable you to recognize your customers just by having a picture of them. It enables you to recognize your employees if needed. Whatever picture, the person can be recognized, and even more, the bots can have a descriptive of the image. So it's probably hard to read there, but our algorithm could figure out that in this picture there is a male of about age 27, which is not adult content, despite not being dressed up very much, but it's not adult content, and it is in the category of people swimming. So it is a very good description of what we have pictured in this photograph. This is possible with cognitive services. And then with bots based on machine learning, they already power a lot of agent work. And the best example is Pizza Hut, that they started already using it in the United States for pizza ordering. That they use a bot up to the extent where the bot cannot answer anymore, and then an agent would take over. But this frees a lot of time from the agents, which make them more productively. In the third category, it's the openness. I already talked a bit about Linux on our cloud. But it's more than that. We say that since our mission is to empower every person and every organization, we need to be able to run any application, DevOps, any framework, any database, everything from the stack, from any provider on our cloud. And here you see a lot of a collection of typically open source software that is available in the Microsoft Azure cloud. If it's Microsoft WordPress as an application, or you use as developers Puppet for DevOps, frameworks of Python, as I was talking about machine learning, or Java developers, databases, Hortonworks, and I would not go through all of them, but on the infrastructure side, you see a lot of Linux derivatives and distributions. All that is possible in the Microsoft Cloud. It's open. You do not need to give up on the systems you already have if you want to use Microsoft Azure. More than that, the hybrid security, the hybrid structure allows you to, first of all, if you have workloads that you think we need to move them from on-premise to cloud because of scalability or because of not having the right hardware in the right place at the right time, you can move that, and later on you can decide even to move the workloads from the cloud back on-premise because you want to have them there, or because you want to use some unutilized capacity in your data center. So the hybrid structure gives you on every layer the possibility either to extend your infrastructure or to move across on-premise and cloud. Last but not least, if you plan to run in a hybrid mode, what we do offer as a possibility, it's on the left-hand side you would see our Microsoft Azure public cloud, and the possibility somehow grouped how you manage your resources in the cloud. And then on the right-hand side, there is what we call Microsoft Azure Stack. This is nothing else than imagine you have your own data center, you overlay the Microsoft Azure Stack, and your data center looks exactly the same like the public Azure. So it's very convenient to manage both infrastructures with the very same tools, in the very same manner, and just to move workloads across public and private the way you need it. And the way you need it might be even in terms of investments, in terms of costs, that you decide to delay a hardware order, or that you decide to your CFO decides that they can invest more into OpEx rather than CapEx. So in order to deploy your solution, you might not run into the Azure public cloud to have the costs as OpEx, or rather than run the full stack into the private cloud where you need the CapEx investment. So all this flexibility is given. And since I'm coming back to the Euro Cloud Forum and the topic about trust, it's first of all in trust, it's making sure the cloud is secure. And how do we do that? There are two examples on the stage. For gamers among you, there might be well known the concept of capture the flag. This is actually what is happening on the left hand of the slide. There is the red team and the blue team, and those teams do exist. These are typically ethical hackers that are hired by Microsoft, one of the best. And the blue team is basically sitting inside the network, in the Azure network, protecting it and trying to detect any intruder, to detect and to isolate and to remove any intruder. The red team is outside of our cloud, trying continuously to hack into the system and to gain access rights, to gain elevated rights, and to keep them for as long as possible. That's their mission. And the blue team's mission is to protect. We are doing this on a constantly basis, 24 hours a day. We are hacking our own system to keep it secure. The other piece, what you would see, it's the framework of security, a dashboard of security, where we use the learnings across the whole platform applied to your own infrastructure. So we make suggestions and recommendations how you should protect your virtual machines, your platform as a service, whatever your applications, whatever you run there, you should protect them because we know and we have seen it in other deployments that there might be a security risk. And this is all in a one-pager dashboard, of course, with the possibility to dig deeper. That was the security piece. Lastly, the trust and the legal piece. We have worked hard to achieve many certifications from different institutions across the globe. There are, what you would see on the slide, there are global certifications. There are US certifications, such as HIPAA for medical. You would see European certifications, like the European Union Model Causes, EU Safe Harbor, or something just for the United Kingdom, the G-Cloud. And there are also certifications from all across the globe, Singapore, Australia, Japan. So we really act global and think local in terms that we need to make our cloud available for everyone, every person and every organization. With that, just to recap, we discussed about application innovation, how we can enable you to develop the applications of the futures, also using rich data and building insights out of it, and even one step further to predict the future in a manner, and those with open and flexible tools, whatever, being them open source, being them other tools outside of the Microsoft ecosystem, and in an ecosystem which is secure and trusted. If this would move on. So the cloud, we talked about the Azure cloud, our platform. Of course, it's much more around it, just to be mentioned. It's Office 365 as our productivity suite, Dynamics 365 as our CRM, Cortana Intelligence, and Enterprise Mobility Operations Management. I explained them briefly. This all is the Microsoft cloud and what you can offer for at a global scale in a hybrid mode and fully trusted. And with that, should you have any questions, you can contact me, you can ask me here, you can contact me later via various channels. My name is Radu Stefan, I'm Technology Evangelist at Microsoft, and thank you very much.